So, Don, who do you like in the series?
You mean baseball's October Classic, the World Series? Who can forget Reggie?
Actually,
or Kirk Gibson's clutch homer?
No, you see...
Or that other thing I can't quite remember.
Don, I'm not talking about the World Series. I'm talking about Beakman's World, the series. Who do you like in the series?
Oh. Well, I like him and her and it.
Oh, well, then step up to the plate.
And play Beakman.
Hot dog here.
Fact. In your lifetime, you'll grow about 350 miles of hair on your head. Of course, I can do that before lunch. I'm Beakman, and you've just broken into Beakman's World. Greetings, crew. I've got a hankering for a tough question. Liza, deliver the letter. The sooner, the better.
You're in luck. I'm wearing my letter sweater. Dear Beakman, how do they make underwater tunnels? Signed, Samuel Bell of Arvada, Colorado.
Ooh. A tunnel question. Wow, I dig tunnels.
Hey, we dig all your questions. And later on in the show, we'll tell you how to tunnel them in.
Tunnels are amazing and complicated feats of engineering, yeah. All right, now, chill. But fortunately, Sammy, there is light at the end of your tunnel question. Underwater tunnels enable us to get to the other side without having to take a boat, catch a plane, build a bridge.
Or get really good at swimming.
Is it just me, or is this starting to make sense? There are two main ways to build a tunnel underwater. The most common way is not to build your tunnel underwater at all.
Oh, I suppose they just build it on shore and then drop it in.
That's right.
Uh-oh. Now he's making sense to me, too.
Engineers, the men and women who build underwater tunnels, first build them on land. They call this the immersed tube method. And it works like this. Workers build huge, same-sized tubes on the shore. They seal the mouths of these tubes with airtight walls to keep the tubes from flooding with water. Once the tubes are prepared, a trench is cut underwater along the floor where the tunnel will eventually go. From platforms sitting on the surface of the water, the trench is dug by dragging a big shovel-like tool called a dredge through the gunk at the bottom of the water.
Then they use gravel to keep the trench from washing away.
Maestro, a little graveling music, please.
You mean this?
When the trench is ready, barges float the sealed tubes into place over the trench.
Then they sink, and you got your tunnel, right?
We'll see.
It floats. So Lester was wrong. I was so worried about him.
Because the tubes are full of air, weights have to be attached to the tubes to sink them. The tubes are then fastened together and sealed. Now, in real tunnels, divers use underwater welding equipment to do this. But I am just gonna use my hands. Right. And section 2. Next, workers go inside the tunnel and remove the airtight walls. Since we don't have any workers who fit in this tunnel, I'm gonna use this coat hanger. Okay, here we go. Good. And the other end. There we go. Finally, the tunnel and trench are buried.
But we're not gonna bury this one, cause we want you to see it.
Now, the tunnel is ready to be used. Liza, would you introduce our guest star?
Here she is, direct from the lint capital of the world. My pocket. Hillary Rodham Hamster.
Wait a minute, hold the hamster. It is specifically stated right here in my contract, item 3, paragraph 2, codicil B, that I am to be the only rodent in this show.
My apologies, Lester. Get in the tunnel.
Well, you know these things aren't written in stone. Go ahead, Hillary. Knock yourself out.
Hillary enters here. The food is here. She's got to get across the river. But she can't swim. There's no bridge. And her boat's in the shop. Aha! There's a tunnel. Liza, please put Hillary in the tunnel.
Don't try this at home with any of your pets. Hillary is a professionally trained rodent, just like me.
Go for it, Hillary. And here she is, safe and dry. Hey, Hillary, did you remember to keep your lights on in the tunnel, huh? Hillary.
Okay, but you said there are two ways to build tunnels underwater. What's the other one?
Well, for that, we'll have to go to England.
And France.
The reason we have to go to England and France is because in 1987, they began an 8-year project building a tunnel connecting their two countries together. Since it goes under this body of water here, called the English Channel, and it's a tunnel, they call it the Chunnel. It's one of the greatest engineering miracles since the pyramids. Whoa. For one thing, instead of laying it on the floor of the English Channel, they dug out 50 feet below the bottom. This is the Tunnel Boring Machine, or TBM. The machine is about 20 feet in diameter and has a rotating head with steel teeth that cut through the rock under the English Channel. The TBM bores, which means cuts, a path through the rock. The stuff it cuts out is called muck. Curved steel pieces called shields are installed to keep the tunnel from caving in. Then they pour the concrete walls, install the lights, slap on the tiles, pave the roadbed, lay down the train tracks, put up the toll booth, and let the tokens fall where they may. Well, Sam Bell of Arvada, Colorado, you better believe that's how they make underwater tunnels. Pilgrim?
Alan Ladd.
No.
Coming up next, we cook up a dish that'll really stick to your ribs. So put on your apron and stay glued to your set.
Beakman's World must now take a beaker break. And now, back to Beakman's World.
Death by 4.
It's time to ignite! You're in. Here he is, the custodian of coolness, the horticulturalist of hipness, the Hager twin of all that is in, the one, the only, the Beakman!
You broach 'em, I'll poach 'em. Let's peppermint twist.
You break it, you buy it.
Question! What is the oldest living species? From Chastity Swafford of Pikeville, Tennessee.
Answer, a species of sea snail. Hey, say that 3 times fast. Called Neopelina galathea. It is the oldest known species, checking in at 50 million years old.
Over 50 million years old. Wow. Think of all the birthday presents he got.
Yeah, and no wonder our neighbor Seymour the sea snail is such a know-it-all.
Question! How How big is a molecule?
There are as many molecules in this teaspoon of water as there are teaspoons of water in the Atlantic Ocean. That's what I thought. Fast fact, the oldest letter in the alphabet is the letter O.
Oh, I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Oh, brother.
Oh. You know what that music means?
We're switching to an easy listening format?
Never, Lester. It means it's time for...
Cooking with Art, where you learn how to cook up some tasty science experiments with stuff you can find right in your own kitchen. Here's your host, the always appetizing Art Byrne.
Oh, welcome to my humble commode. Achoo! Today, I'm gonna teach you how to make your very own glue from milk.
Well, let me have some skim milk. I'll have some vinegar. An enamel or a glass saucepan. A big wooden spoon. Let me have a strainer. 2 big bowls. I'll have some water. Some measuring spoons. And some baking soda.
Experiments should be performed at home only with adult supervision. And all appropriate safety precautions should be taken. All directions should be followed exactly. And no substitutions should be used.
First, you start by slowly heating 2 cups of skim milk. Yeah, and 6 tablespoons of vinegar in a saucepan. Then start stirring and don't stop till I tell you. Pretty soon the milk will get lumpy because it's curdling. As soon as that happens, you've got to take the pan off of the heat and keep stirring until it stops curdling. When it's done curdling, pour it through a strainer into a bowl, like so. Lovely. The gooey stuff in our first bowl here is great, but we gotta leave it alone for now because it's time to add a 1/4 cup of water. And a teaspoon of baking soda. To our solid curds. Okay. Hey, you! Did you stop stirring? Hey, I told you to keep stirring. Hey, that's better. Pretty soon, you've got bubbles and then you've got glue. Hey, if you don't believe me, you can test it by pasting 2 pieces of paper together. Let it dry before you try pulling them apart. It was a slow day at a truck stop, so I did this before. Looky. See, the paper rips before the glue unsticks. You see, what we was able to do here was to artificially sour the milk by adding the vinegar and the heat. This produced a protein called casein. When we added the water and the baking soda, it reacted with the vinegar. You all saw the bubbles, right? And made casein glue. Hey, a little help here, eh? I can hardly cook with a wooden spoon stuck to my shoe here, eh? So there you go. Another work of art. Until next time, this is Art Byrne saying... Hey, get out of my kitchen!
Oh, Art.
Coming up next, we're gonna take great pains to show you some great trains.
Beakman's World will be back in a flash. And now, back to Beakman's World.
It's time for another letter. Max and Zoe Keller from Sherman Oaks, California, right? Steam trains are really cool. How come you don't see them that much anymore, and how do they work?
Okay, let's get chugging on choo-choos. First of all, Max and Zoe, I love trains. And I love steam trains best of all. Train your eyes on this. Magnificent steam locomotives. With all that snorting and puffing, it almost seems like they're alive. And since we don't see them very often, they remind us of good times from years gone by.
Years gone by. Good times. Over the river and through the woods. Dad, you never played catch with me. Sorry, guys.
It's okay, Lester. You see, he's supplying us with one of the main things we need to power a steam locomotive.
False sentiments?
No, tears.
Yeah! Tears are mostly water, and water is mostly what we need to make steam.
When we boil water,
Heating it to 212 degrees Fahrenheit.
it changes from a liquid to a gas we call steam. And steam has a lot of energy stored in it. See how it forces its way out of the spout? People have known about the power of steam since ancient Greece.
I think that's what they cook these fries in. Ancient Greece.
No, Lester, not that kind of Greece. He means Greece, the country.
Correct as usual, Lizola. A great Greek hero by the name of Hero created the very first steam engine in the 1st century A.D. This thing is just a tea kettle with 3 spouts. When the steam comes out of these spouts or jets, it turns Hero's engine around. Steam power.
What did Hero use this thing for?
Well, that's the trouble. He never figured out what to use it for. You're fired! But it wasn't until 1,600 years later that people finally put steam to work. They did it using one of these guys. A piston in a cylinder. Wow! Now check this out. The steam from the boiler goes through this valve here. A valve is like a door. And into this side of the cylinder, where it pushes the piston this way as far as it'll go. When that happens, this valve closes, and the valve on the other side opens. Then the steam pushes the piston back the other way. The piston goes back and forth, and as it does, it turns this flywheel right here. Now, in a steam locomotive, steam pushes the piston back and forth in this cylinder here, pushing and pulling these rods. The rods turn the drive wheels, and that sends the train along its merry way for a peaceful ride over hill and dale. Unless, of course, someone's asleep at the switch. Ouch.
Wow! Steam trains are so neat! How come they're not still around?
Actually, they are still around. Ray? Oops, wrong chain. Steam locomotives were built as early as the 1830s, but were hardly in use at all by the 1960s. But there are dozens of beautifully restored steam railroads all over the country for you to ride on. This is the Durango-Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad in Colorado. It's a museum on wheels. Today, passengers and freight travel mostly by diesel-electric locomotives. They're cheaper to build, cheaper to run, and they don't have to stop every few miles for water. Thanks for your letter, Max and Zoe Keller of Sherman Oaks, California. That's our crash course on the Iron Horse.
What will the train of the future look like? I'll give you a hint. It won't have any wheels. So stick around for the facts on trains and tracks.
Clickety-clack.
We'll be back.
Beakman's World will be back after these messages. And now, back to Beakman's World.
Instead of wheels, tomorrow's trains will hover on a field of magnetic energy. Remember how magnets can repel when their north poles or south poles face each other? Well, imagine a train gliding along on that exact kind of magnetic levitation. Since the train won't touch the tracks, there's very little friction to overcome, and the train can float along the track with nary a bump.
And less friction means it'll use less energy than the trains we ride today.
Speaking of energy, I'm just about out of it.
Good thing it's the end of the show. See you next time
On Beakman's World!
You know, Herb, I've been thinking.
There's trouble.
How come we don't see any trains around here?
Well, Don, it's just a guess, but I'd say it's because there are no tracks.
Sure, but I've been thinking, how come there's no track?
Because there's no place to go.
Yeah, but I've been thinking, how come there's no place to go?
Because the... Oh, just turn off, Beakman. You're starting to think up the place.
Think so?